Martin's Shave Tests, and it's Tuesday, 3rd of February. I've got to do a shave. I'm going to do a homage shave to Leon, the Longhall tanker, who always has, in the past anyway, given wonderful videos of his collection of razors. He's very clever. What he does is he makes a roll of razors, which he manages to get usually from source, from Griffiths Shavings and others, which are NOS, that's new old stock. So I've dug out 3 razors which are new old stock, which I've got over the last, I suppose, I don't know, 3 years. A couple of which I haven't even used yet because they are new old stock. Anyway, I'd also like to mention how even very good quality German razors can come from the factory with an edge you couldn't cut cheese with, let alone shave with. I'm going to show you one in 2 seconds. First of all, let me just say this is extremely nice, one of my favourite lathers. This is, the soap is, of course, Truffet & Hill. And Truffet & Hill, very high quality. A nice gentle soap, not much of an aroma. So for aroma, I'd say it's high grade, but unremarkable. Just quality. Anyway, that'll do. I think that's quite enough. Let me now just briefly show you drying fingers before I do, because that is absolutely lethal in my opinion if you don't. So always want to have a towel and preferably a flannel, face flannel handy. So there we go. Right, let me just show you this particular new old stock from Griffiths Shaving Goods in America. You get a lovely little label, very expensive, because this is a Friedrich Schempler razor, absolutely new, old stock, with all its papers, including the beautiful little tag which you would hang from the razor. So there it is, there's the box, there's the razor. But here's the question, which is really vexing me, which is a beautiful focus steel, unbelievably good quality stamp, which I really do appreciate. That is such a deep, proper heat stamp, none of your laser stuff. And of course on the other side it has the usual Friedrich Schempler, Solingen, Germany. Very, very high quality razor, but sent from the factory, and no one has touched it other than me, I can tell. Sent from the factory, absolutely with an edge I wouldn't cut cheese with. However, what I did was, in case anybody's interested, if you ever get a NOS razor which has the usual very poor grind on it, it looked like a sort of 1K scratch marks on the edge. Instead of putting it onto the stones, I decided to use a paddle strop, which has 2 surfaces, as you can see. This one has CBN 1 micron on one side and 2 micron on the other. Give it about 20, 30, 40, whatever you feel like, until such a point as some of the scratches have been, if not totally removed, at least you've now got a decent edge, which I have found with a tiny touch. That was a soap falling on the floor. With a tiny touch on a pasted strop, usually with Thiers Sard is good. In fact, let me just show, I won't bore you to tears. But there's a Thiers Sard, what was a decent enough canvas, which is now, of course, the black is, of course, the steel. So it does actually remove steel, but not as badly as on a stone. Anyway, why don't I just shut up and get on? So here we go. This is a new old stock focus, very high grade, never used before, very first time. Oh yeah, can feel straight away, good. This is on about 4 days of stubble, old grey stubble. Yeah, that's lovely, that's luxury. So that's the little tip I thought I'd impart today, which is if you are lucky enough to get a brand new razor from, say, Boca, who are quite famous for producing good quality steel and not very good edges. Factory edges over the last few years have obviously gone down, as most things in life have. So I would say that's actually doing a very nice job. However, as a special treat, so say in honour of a Longhall tanker, I would say let's try something else. So that is that one. Let's now try this absolute beauty, which is a double duck. This one also came out of America. It's absolutely mint. Don't think it's ever been used more than perhaps once. Came with a mint box. The interesting part with the double duck of this period is it has something very, very strange. It has gold plating. The sign on the scales is absolutely glorious. Lovely deep stamp, double duck, Solingen, Germany. Pearl duck, because it's got pearl scales. Let's try this one as well. Let's see how this compares. Yeah, obviously both of them hanging hair tested very well, so I've no worries about that. Oh yeah, this double duck is really good actually. This one came to me from America and I haven't touched the edge. I just tested it. And as you can hear, absolutely first rate. I can't remember now whether or not I had actually done anything in regard to stropping with any sort of abrasive. I don't think I had. I think this is pretty much pure as it is. So I'm very pleased with that. That passes the Martin test. Anyway, last but by no means least, I'm going to use this beautiful Hess. A Hess number 1. Solingen, Germany. Again, I bought this out of America. No label with it, other than the fact, and this is what makes it so unusual, it's got almost a gold-plated decoration. But the interesting part for me, how do they do this? See, it was made for America because it's got the square nose, but it's got a heat blued tang on it, which is to me, very unusual, because it means that at some point in its manufacture, they actually had to heat blue the tang. So it didn't affect the edge, but it's interesting. It's got Master Barber crest on one side, then it's got the usual attributations on the other, which is quite strange, because it says LaSalle Empire, Minneapolis, Minnesota, made in Germany. So there's a complicated web of information. So it's a German razor sold by a sale in America, in Minneapolis. It's got a nice made in German box with Hess Hair Milk, St. Paul, Minnesota, and then Solingen on it. So very strange. But I would say, looking at it, it's a beautiful little 5/8. Very high grade scales with lovely decoration. So I'm going to enjoy this. I better put a bit more lather on. We'll do a second pass and I'll call it a day. So yes, if you can get your mitts on a NOS razor, it's well worth it. Ain't going to be cheap, but on the other hand, neither's a Ferrari. And these are the Ferraris of the razor world. Much as I love really old razors, very early razors, but they're hit and miss. Whereas the steel on a well-documented company is usually pretty good. So let's now try this strange creature. We'll go against the grain and see how it works. Lovely. Oh my goodness. And to think some people still shave with those Gillette monsters. However, each to their own. I started off like most kids with a double-edged Gillette style razor. Because that's what my dad used. However, I soon learned they were uncomfortable and usually rather prone to cutting. So I went to disposables because you could jump in the shower, use a disposable, jump straight out and go to a nightclub. However, those are the days. Yeah, very nice little razor this. 5/8, not my favourite size. Yeah, out of the three, they all cut fairly equally. I wouldn't say one was highly above the other, but so far, these are all German razors. 1940s, 1950s, maybe even a little later. But very, very nice. Why would anybody want it to shave with anything else? However, tip for today, if you want to call it a tip for today, is if you do get a razor with a particularly strange looking edge, factory edge I'm talking about, don't be afraid to sharpen it yourselves. Usually you can get away with a paddle strop with diamond paste or CBN, whichever you choose, and then finishing off perhaps with a little bit of white Thiers-Isard. So there it is. There's a beautiful and very unusual razor. Well, it's unusual to me. Fancy having heat blued tang just to make it look, well, more decorative. So I'm very, very happy, but I would honestly say you got to be a little bit cautious when you buy from any source, but I would say Griffiths in particular wasn't cheap, but the Griffiths, which is this fair here, which is the Friedrich Schempler Solingen Meerschaid, that is absolutely straight from the factory. So somebody bought up a small stock of them and then Griffiths got them, put them on the market, and all I can say is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. Very, very, very proud of this. I'd say this one is not quite a 6/8, but it's very close. But the stamping on it is just unbelievable. Came with all the original guarantee paper. It came especially impressive with all its seals, which I shall keep forever until somebody gets it off me, which I hope they do, because the whole point of this channel is just trying to spread the word. This is not a monetized channel. I don't ever intend doing that. This is purely for information on people that want to take up or already have taken up straight razor shaving. Anyway, again, my usual long length, 13:50, coming up 14 minutes. Right, that's that. Let's put on a splash. I'm going to use, because I like punishment today, I'm going to use this bloody awful Clubman aftershave, which came as a gift with that rather nice quality London soap. But the one thing I would say is this stuff is like dipping acid. Even with a perfect shave, it really does let you know if you've got any little imperfections. Very nice lemony smell, but if you've got any little nicks, which I haven't, but if you had, that'll find it. And it's potent, much more alcohol, I think, in it than it should have. But anyway, there you go. That's the Pinard Clubman Aftershave Lotion, and it's potent, not what I would normally want to recommend. Still, each to their own, as they always say. That's it, guys. I'm finished. There's the Truffington Hill, one more time. Very nice quality soap. And as always, I use a synthetic brush because you can buy dozens of them for very little money, and they're absolutely excellent. In particular, this one, as you've seen so many times if you watch my channel, is the Yaki, and it's a big one. It's I think it's a 30mm Yaki brush. I'll take a picture and I'll put that up on the group posts. Anyway, chaps, oh God, I've gone at 15 minutes. Sorry about that, but I thought you might be interested in my little homage to Longhall tanker with his exquisite collection of new old stock razors. And I'm doing the same. Bye for now, Martin's Shave Channel.